Well, Freddie Kitchens had his first weekend as Browns head coach. By that I mean the weekend where he actually got to watch some players out on the field and actually had to talk about some issues that a head coach faces. And remember, Freddie Kitchens never been a head coach of the Cleveland Browns before, never been a head coach in college before, high school, anywhere. So Freddie Kitchens is there, and they're talking about the different people the Browns drafted, Greedy Williams and so on. But here came a couple issues. Number one, he had to talk about Duke Johnson. The Browns turned out didn't trade Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson had asked for a trade, didn't get traded. And he said, well, I don't know where all that came from. But then later on in the interview, he admitted, well, just because a guy asked for a trade doesn't mean we're going to trade him. So that's going to be a challenge for Freddie Kitchens. How do you handle Duke Johnson if he's still with the team come training camp? He's a guy who wanted to be traded. Number two issue you had to face, Odell Beckham did not show up, as Freddie Kitchens kept saying, voluntary workouts. Voluntary, you know what that means? That means voluntary. That's all voluntary means. But, of course, he also admitted he would like to have had his new star receiver in camp for these voluntary workouts. So that would have been a good thing, to have that. So he had to go around and around a little bit with Odell Beckham. And then he had to talk about also, just what about the draft? And as a head coach, it's really hard. Yes, you're involved in the draft, but, do you know how good Greedy Williams is going to be? No, you don't. Do you know how good any of these players, frankly, are going to be till you get them on the field? And then finally, I think this is the biggest one. Freddie Kitchens is trying to figure out, how do I raise a high standard for the team, and yet, how do I deal with all these expectations? Like he said, well, Greedy Williams said we're going to be playing for the Super Bowl. I'm like, hey, we haven't done anything yet. He talked about last year being 7-8-1, says that doesn't mean anything, doesn't carry over into this year. But let's face it, the Browns, as Sports Illustrated just called them, the darling of the offseason. Fans are looking at them. How are they going to do? Baker Mayfield coming back for year two, Nick Chubb, all these things. Great expectations, primetime games, rookie head coach. It's going to be fun to kind of watch how Freddie handles all this as he goes all along. But his first weekend really was an interesting introduction to, hey, Freddie, it's a lot more than football when it comes to this job for you.